It's the 25th day of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and Putin's troops continue their relentless attacks on key Ukrainian cities. Capital Kyiv and Kharkiv have witnessed the wrath of Russian missiles. Several port town of Mariupol has been battered. Round-the-clock shellings are going on. Several buildings have been reduced to rubble. Ukrainian military has imposed 38-hour curfew in the southern city of Zaporizhzhia. Meanwhile, Ukraine has refused to bow down amidst Russian assault. On Saturday, Ukrainian president called on Putin to sit for comprehensive peace talks. The leader said that failure to find a peaceful solution would result in several generations of Russians reeling from the losses of the war.
Тому переговори про мир.
Negotiations about peace, about security for us, about security for Ukraine are substantial, fair and without delays. This is the only chance for Russia to reduce the harm from its own mistakes. We were always insisting on the negotiations. We were always offering dialogue, offering a solution for peace. I want everyone to hear me now, especially in Moscow. The time has come for a meeting. It is time to talk. The time has come to restore territorial integrity and justice for Ukraine. Otherwise, Russia's losses will be such that it will take you several generations to recover.
The Russia-Ukraine war has become more deadly. Russia has claimed that it had used hypersonic Kinzhal missiles to destroy a large weapon depot in Ukraine's western Ivano-Frankivsk region. Moscow has never before admitted using the high-precision weapon in combat. The video of the missile strike was put out by Russia. The hypersonic weapon is defined as fast, low-flying and highly maneuverable weapon designed to be too quick and agile for traditional missile defense systems to detect in time. The Kinzhal was one of an array of new weapons that Russian President Vladimir Putin unveiled in the State of the Nation address in 2018. Putin had termed Kinzhal as an ideal weapon. Kinzhal is nuclear-capable air-launched ballistic missile with several advanced qualities, including super speed that can go up to 12,350 kilometers per hour, up to 2,000-kilometer target range, and can overcome air defense systems. Devastation is located outside the city of Ivano-Frankivsk. The region of Ivano-Frankivsk shares a 50-kilometer-long border with NATO member Romania.
On March 18, Kinzhal missile system armed with hypersonic aeroballistic missiles destroyed a large Ukrainian forces underground depot which contained missiles and aircraft ammunition in the settlement of Devastation of Ivano-Frankivsk region in western Ukraine. Coastal missile system Bastion destroyed a radio and reconnaissance center of the Ukrainian forces in the Odessa region.
Russia ups the ante against Ukraine on day 24 of its invasion. Massive destruction across Ukrainian cities. UN estimates nearly 6.5 million people have been displaced in Ukraine and over 3.2 million fled the country. At least 112 children have lost their lives since the beginning of the war. Here's a report.
Russian missiles, rockets continue to rain on Ukrainian cities. No respite from the ferocious Russian onslaught. Buildings on fire, plumes of black smoke from houses and high-rises. Destroyed infrastructure. The scenes across Ukrainian cities are of absolute devastation. The city of Kharkiv has faced the heaviest damage in unsparing bombardments. Fire raging in once posh residential neighborhoods.
We live in micro-district Solneshny. That is a transformer substation. There was no military vehicles or anything close to that. On the 5th day from the beginning of the war, a shell hit the edge of the building. It's still fresh. The damage is beyond repairable.
Mariupol is charred beyond recognition. Heavily damaged residences and destroyed commercial establishments narrate the ferocity of the strikes. At least 130 civilians were rescued from the rubble of the theatre used for refuge. It was bombed earlier by Russia. Many more are still feared trapped.
I want everyone to hear me. especially in Moscow. The time has come to meet, to talk. The time has come to restore territorial integrity and justice for Ukraine. Otherwise, Russia's costs will be so high that you will not be able to rise again for several generations.
Russian Defense Ministry meanwhile released a video showing its helicopter-borne troops firing at an airfield in a bid to capture it. Russia's defense ministry also claimed that it had destroyed underground Ukrainian depot for ammunition using hypersonic missiles. Kyiv has witnessed heavy shelling that destroyed residential buildings and also resulted in multiple injuries and casualties. But the Ukrainian army has been able to hold the Russian troops at bay, stalling their advancement towards Kyiv. But the city is now completely deserted.
I'm here in Kyiv, in the Independence Square. I would just like to show you around how this city looks like, the center of the city in the fourth week of war. Everywhere it's quiet, there are no people around. It's like a totally deserted city, and this is what Kyiv is in the fourth week of war.
A country on brinks. Many Ukrainian cities are reporting mass casualties despite being largely deserted. The deaths of children in the war has crossed 112. Over 65 lakh Ukrainians are now homeless. With Rajesh Pawar in Kyiv, Bureau Report, India Today.
It is day 24 of the Russian invasion, and the Russian onslaught over Ukraine continues. Attack on airfields, charred houses, bloodbath on streets of Ukraine. The horrifying visuals that emerge show the extensive damage to the cities of Ukraine.
Bloodbath on the streets of Ukrainian cities. Dilapidated buildings, charred markets, once brimming with life and activity, Ukrainian cities now in ruins. The capital city of Kyiv continues to be in the eye of storm with relentless bombardments. In a bid to capture the capital, Russia has been launching missile attacks on residential and commercial buildings. The extent of damage of the attacks on Kyiv is horrifying. The city of Kharkiv is in ruins. The Russians have attacked the main commercial establishments of the area. Back-to-back shelling on large markets and residential buildings have caused a lot of damage to the infrastructure of the city. Multiple buildings have been reduced to rubble. The city of Mariupol has been one of the worst hit. Missile attacks on the city have left the buildings charred with smoke billowing out. Once bustling, it is now a ghost city. After Russians bombed a theatre-turned-shelter where thousands took refuge, 130 people were rescued from under the debris, while many others are still feared trapped. Kramatorsk city in Donetsk wears a deserted look. The buildings are in shambles. The trees burnt and falling apart. Russian attacks have ravaged homes of many in the city as smokes continue to emerge from residential buildings. One of the largest markets in Eastern Europe, Barabashevo, was shelled by the Russian military on Friday. The massive shellings have completely damaged the market. Massive fire raging on in multiple shops. Plumes of black smoke engulfing the entire market. The outskirts of Kyiv, Vyshgorod, paint a devastating picture. The town witnessed relentless shelling in the last few days, resulting in massive fires. Many commercial and industrial establishments ablaze in the strikes. Bureau Report, India Today.
Amidst the raging 24-day-long war, top Russian commanders have been killed by Ukrainian troops, giving Moscow a tough fight. Here's a detailed report on who all were killed in combat.
armed to the teeth. Tough. Ruthless. The Russian military is one of the most intimidating forces in the world. But the Ukrainian resistance has been equally fierce. Ukraine has inflicted enough injury on the aggressor. A key commander of the Russian tank regiment, Colonel Andrei Zakharov, was eliminated in Kyiv after a heavy fight. Zakharov was a recipient of the Order of Courage from Putin himself in 2016. This is not the first high-profile casualty for the Russians in this war. In a fatal blow to Russia's crack special forces, Major General Vitaly Gerasimov, the Chief of Staff of the 41st Army, was killed in Kharkiv. Russia also lost the head of the 7th Airborne Division Major General Andrei Sukhovetsky. A war hero, the general's loss is being seen as a bitter blow to Putin's crack units. A sign Russia's assault isn't going to plan.
The key difference now between the Ukrainian and the Russian forces is the morale component. The Ukrainians have fought very well and morale is very high, and that is infectious, and it is clearly not just between the Ukrainian professional soldiers but also the Ukrainian civil society as a whole. They see this as a fight for national survival. And on the Russian side, morale is very low.
The death of the highly decorated veterans could be a major demotivator for the Russians and a morale booster for the Ukrainian defenders. With Gaurav Sawant, Rajesh Pawar and Geeta Mohan in Ukraine, Bureau Report, India Today.